and help us try to picture what it would take to build a future that's worth getting excited about. This year, the year 2050, has been labeled by scientists as this kind of almost like this doomsday deadline on climate. There's a consensus of scientists.
I am not one of the doomsday people, which may surprise. I actually think we're on a good path. So long as we are not complacent, as long as we have a high sense of urgency about moving towards a sustainable energy economy. There are three elements to a sustainable energy future. One is obviously sustainable energy generation, which is primarily wind and solar. I think nuclear is fine. The second part is you need batteries to store the solar and wind energy, because the sun doesn't shine all the time. There needs a lot of stationary battery packs. And then you need electric transport. Solar, wind, stationary battery pack, electric vehicles. So the limiting factor really will be battery cell production. So then whatever the slowest element of the whole lithium-ion battery cells supply chain, from mining and the many steps of refining to ultimately creating a battery cell and putting it into a pack, that will be the limiting factor on progress towards sustainability.
That the world needs for sustainability is 300 terawatt hours of batteries,
which roughly triples the amount of electricity that you need.
Compared with now. And I'm curious about, like, are people entitled to get a little bit excited about the possibilities of that world?
If we are, continue to push hard, the future is bright and good from an energy standpoint. And it takes a lot of energy to pull carbon out of the atmosphere, because in putting it in the atmosphere, it releases energy. So if you've got a lot of sustainable energy from wind and solar, you can actually sequester carbon, so you can reverse the CO2 parts per million of the atmosphere and oceans. And Earth is mostly water. We should call Earth water. It's 70% water by surface area.
Now, with energy, you can turn seawater into irrigating water or whatever water you
absolutely.
need.
At very low cost. Things will be good.
Things will be good.
Yes.
And also, there's other benefits, right, to this non-fossil fuel world where the air is cleaner and that kind of growth rate for cars.
The thing that really got me, and I think is going to get a lot of other people, is that there are just so many false dawns with self-driving, where most people don't know what light curve is, I suppose, but
show the shape.
It goes up sort of a fairly straight way, and then it starts tailing off, and you start getting to these what I call local maxima, where you don't realize basically how dumb you were. And then in order to solve full self-driving properly, you have to solve real-world AI. You're quite obvious that the only way to solve full self-driving is to solve real-world AI and sophisticated.
You think you have an architecture now where there is a chance for the logarithmic curve not to tail off?
Well, admittedly, these may be an infamous last words, but I actually am confident that we'll exceed. You said, like, what the probability of an accident. At what point do you exceed that of the average person?
Right. Is walking down the road with a smaller pedestrian, that maybe that smaller pedestrian might do something unpredictable, or like things like that you should drive without interventions, safer than a human. Many companies out there have tried to put out these robots. They've been working on them for years, and so far no one has really...
You can then generalize that to a robot on legs as well, do useful things. Without being explicitly instructed. So the missing things are basically real-world intelligence and scaling up manufacturing. Those are two things that Tesla is very good at. And so the robot, people have no idea. This is going to be bigger than the car.
If you had a robot that really understood the 3D architecture of your house and knew where every object in that house was or was supposed to be, and could recognize all those objects. That's kind of amazing, isn't it? Like the kind of thing that you could ask a robot to do would be what? Like tidy up, or
make dinner. I guess mow the lawn.
Take a cup of tea to grandma and show her family pictures.
Exactly. Take care of my grandmother and make sure, yeah, exactly.
Sounds wise.
And I do think there should be a regulatory agency for AI. I've said this for many years.
Count on them. You'll have your own butler, basically.
Yeah, you'll have your sort of, well, the first units that we intend to make are for jobs that are dangerous, boring, repetitive. Well, I think the cost is actually not going to be crazy high. Initially, things will be expensive because it'll be new technology at low production volume.
Pretty rapid replacement of certain types of jobs.
I think we're actually going to have, and already do have, a massive shortage of labor. But this really will be a world of abundance. Any goods and services will be available to anyone who wants them.
Now, but could be made in that world, courtesy of legions of robots.
It will be a world of abundance. The only scarcity that will exist in the future is that which we decide to create ourselves as.
So AI is allowing us to imagine a differently powered economy that will create this abundance.
I guess there's the dangers would be the artificial general intelligence or digital superintelligence decouples from a collective human will and goes in a direction that for some reason we don't like, of whatever direction it might go. The issue that we face here is that we're already a cyborg, if you think about it. All of our text messages and social media and emails and
seen evidence that the technology is actually working, that you've got a richer sort of higher bandwidth connection, if you like, between external electronics and a brain than has been possible before?
Well, we have put in our FDA application to have the aspirationally do the first human implant this year.
How clear are you in your mind as to what it will feel like to have one of these inside your head?
For many years, we will just be solving brain injuries and spinal injuries for probably a decade.
If you can pull that off, that's the app I will sign up for.
I mean, they'll send us just tragic, where someone was sort of in the prime of life and they had an accident on a motorcycle and someone who's 25 there's the short-term thing, which I think is helpful on an individual human level with injuries, and then the long-term thing is an attempt to I mean, if you think of how the brain works today, there are really kind of two layers, and it's just a very tiny straw to this tertiary layer, and we want to make that tiny straw a big highway. This has never been achieved. The closest that anything's come is our Falcon 9 rocket, where we are able to recover the first stage, the boost stage, which is probably about 60% of the cost of the vehicle, or of the whole cost of. The expected cost of Starship putting 100 tons into orbit is significantly less than what it would have cost. It uses methane as fuel, and it's primarily oxygen. It's sort of, we could even potentially go to Venus, but it's not. You don't want to go there. But you could. It's a generalized method of transport to anywhere in the solar system.
Mars, like that is the mission. That is where most of the
So NASA is planning to use Starship to return to the moon. Getting anywhere in the greater, it's looking promising for us to have an orbital launch attempt in a few months. Well, we're currently expecting to make a booster and a ship roughly initially roughly every couple months, and hopefully by the end of this year.
That picture is just completely mind-blowing to me.
Yes.
That sense of this armada of humans going.
Yeah, they got loans, but I think at the point at which you say, okay, like if moving to Mars costs, for argument's sake, $100,000. It's kind of like that Shackleton ad for going to the Antarctic, which I think is actually not real, but you might not make it back, or maximizing the probable lifespan of humanity or consciousness. Human civilization could, but the probable lifespan of civilization or consciousness as we know it, it could just go out.
I think that's powerful. That you need to survive. It's
really like we talk about the Fermi paradox and where are the aliens, and like, well, maybe the aliens didn't. We want to pass that filter, and listen to or not. I mean, I would advocate for more of a direct democracy, not a representative democracy, and laws that are short enough for people to understand. I mean, roughly, I would say it's probably an order of magnitude more resolution.
Really want to do is to drop a submarine into the
Yeah, I mean,
ocean.
maybe there's like some squid civilization under the cephalopod civilization under the ice of Europe.
Honestly, be the happiest moment of my life.
Pretty well. I mean, I don't know. We've certainly got a long way to go. Then, after we get to orbit, we have to really prove out and refine full and rapid reusability. That'll take a moment. I'm highly confident we will solve this at this point.
It seems like a partnership between Boring Company and Tesla could offer an unbelievable deal to a city to say, we will create for you a 3D network of tunnels populated by robotaxi. With Starship, Gwynne Shotwell talked about by 2028 having from city to city, transport on planet Earth.
Yeah, this is a real possibility. The fastest way to get from one place to another, if it's a long distance, is a rocket. It's
right.
It's basically ICBM,
right,
with the
but it has to
landing, delete the nuke.
Because surely there is a growing argument that you should actually put all these things together into one company. That you actually could connect the dots here. Just tell the public that X billion dollars a year, whatever your number is, will be diverted to the Mars mission. I suspect you'd have massive interest in that company.
And SpaceX has such a big effect on the company that I really try to work as much as possible, to the edge of sanity, basically, of a sort of $2 billion a week, let's say, in revenues, sort of $300 million a day, 7 days a week. It's...
Actually can't understand, personally, I can't understand the fact that you get all this criticism from the left about, oh my God, he's so rich, that's disgusting. When climate is their issue,
philanthropy is love of humanity. They are philanthropy. Tesla is accelerating sustainable energy. This is a love of philanthropy.
Right.
Neuralink is to help solve brain injuries and existential risk with AI. Love of humanity. There are certainly some big risks that humanity faces, and there's obviously we need to take action on climate sustainability, which is being done. I think if you want the future to be good, you must make it so. Take action to make it good, and it will be.